me just sit with this for a second. I'm just going to take a deep breath and really center myself into this. Okay. What's your first memory of music?
That's so cool. So my first memory is when I was 2 and watching the black and white video on Michael Jackson, and I felt this feeling of I just felt this overwhelming feeling of global healing. And I was enthralled by the music video. And I also had this simultaneous feeling that that was my destiny, that I was here to be a giant superstar like Michael Jackson. Yeah, that's my first memory, and it's never left. And every other activity I've done, it's just kind of appeared when I least expect it. You know, when I'm 25, when I'm 30, it just won't let me escape that was my earliest kind of memory of my purpose.
Mm-hmm. What role does music play in your life?
These are amazing questions. So I always say that music is it saved me, really. I mean, apart from this one, this is the other one that saved me. Music, I think probably the most emblematic point in my life was when I came out and I moved to Queensland and I lost everything. They were my COVID years. My family totally rejected me in a really intense and violent way, which was terrifying. And also I was so vulnerable, like raw flesh, right? And I realized that the only person that could hear me, or the only creature that could fully hear me in my life were my songs. So every day I just knew that's all I had. Because they were almost more than a diary entry. They really elevate you to your highest position. They elevate you to who you really are. So you really get to be fully heard. It's like music stretches my insides from one side all the way to the other side. You know, I'm completely full. I'm completely heard, you know. And there's no other part of my life that can really give that to me as fully. And to be able to perform is like the ultimate experience in some way, because it's literally grounding that sensation I have in myself of feeling the entirety of love, or feeling entirely heard or seen, and putting it on the ground. And I literally feel unbelievable. You feel the energy channeling through you when you're performing, you know, being able to sing as a male singer when I haven't had that ever in the past. I just can't even express. It feels like the whole point of why I'm here, to feel this sensation. And yeah, it's just taken a lifetime to get there. In my teenage years, music was just everything as well. I loved it to bits, and I think it gave me a taste. It kept me excited for life, you know, concerts and bands and, you know, exchanging the music taste that you love. It influences your character, I think, and your personality. You become defined in some way by the cool music you listen to. So yeah, that's how it's supported me.
So the stories in your songs are stories of your experiences in life, but they're not just for you alone. What messages are you sharing with others so that they also don't feel alone?
Yeah, I think the most powerful songs kind of blow me away in the receiving of them. I suppose I'm connected to everyone in those songs, or I've been put there, you know. It's not something that I feel like when I try and reach and make myself and try to be connected to everyone, it ain't happening. But when I really just follow the story and the thread of the feelings. I have a song called Silent Revelry, and it came first as a title in a lyric writing exercise. And it took me off guard because these titles came through. I was writing very generic, bad titles, really. And I just thought, oh, I got nothing here. This is really terrible. It was shocking. And then these 4 titles came through that struck a chord in my heart. And one of them was Silent Revelry. Another one was Before Sunrise of Sunset. And another one was Of Solitude She Embarks. And the other one was ... just actually the full stops. But it was the feelings they gave me that took me off guard because I hadn't felt that before. And I just went, it's just a bit of a catches you off guard. And that's how the most special songs come to me. And I was a year later, or 6 months later, after receiving that title, you're focused on all these other things. You think that's what it's all about. But I was just on the porch in my place in the Sunshine Coast, and it was the morning, and I was thinking about that title. And then I just had this, it just came from nowhere, this melody for it. At the end of me, silent revelry. Yeah, so at the end of me, silent revelry. And I seem to already know the entirety of what the song was about, that it was about at the end of our lives, we want to have lived a life that was the fullness of our heart, and that no matter how hard it can get, if you've lived by the fullness of your heart, you have fully lived. There's nothing else you could have done, even if it was an incredibly hard life. And I find with my songs that I need to have lived it, for it to flow through me like that easily. And because I could 100% speak for that, that's been my life. It's like the wisdom that pulls me through all these insane experiences is that horizon I'm always looking at. And then soon, about 6 months later or a year later, I was at school, and I felt to finish the song, and I had a lot of musicians come in my mind of who I wanted to reference, like Bob Dylan, Hurricane, and Tracy Chapman. And because it was a story, and it was going to be a story about a father who had sacrificed everything for his daughter, and which I think is beautiful, even relaying it. But he really succeeded as a father ultimately, because he took her to her horizon, right? And he took himself to his horizon, because he always had this vision in his heart for a better life for both of them. And he left a very violent life. And feeling wise, it's very clear that it's directly my life. It's my life. But I've turned it into my emotions. I've turned it into a story. I feel, my journey with with my birdie is the same emotions. It's fatherhood and the things I've had to leave to create safety, and I'm uncompromising in my security. My knowing of what safety truly is, that I will never budge on that. And I've been tested as much as you could be tested. I've been tested, but I just know in my heart, and it's a feeling. It's a vision of what home is, and it never leaves me. I just hold on to it until it one day hopefully appears fully. But it's appeared in a lot of little ways. Yeah.
I see you as a musical storyteller. What is the feelings that you hope people experience from engaging with your music and your songwriting? What are you hoping for them to receive from it?
I hope that they experience the dramatic changes that have occurred in my life for themselves, because I believe that's what's contained in the songs. These songs have forced me out of violence completely. completely out of chaos
Mm.
songs. And I do, when you're an artist, you hate every inch of your creation, then you love it, then you think it's fantastic, then you hate it again, and you think it's rubbish. And there's so many years with your art as a musician that you just have no choice but to go through every wave. But the one thing I can't deny the songs is that they've saved my life, and they've taken me to places I couldn't possibly have conceived achievable. And that is without it even being released. That's just in terms of how it's moved me from place to place, because my perspective has shifted so dramatically by being a songwriter that I've gone deeper and deeper into myself. And so the landscape around me just keeps changing, because it just recognizes I'm a new version of myself. I'm a deeper version. So it has to change to reflect that. So I think the people that really resonate with the music, well, it's going to be inevitable that their landscapes are going to change just like mine are, into the highest versions of themselves. And I can't wait. I hope people write me letters. I'm a big letter writer. In the day of digital, getting a physical letter is unbelievable. So I can't even believe that. If that's my future, where people are like, even letting myself just sink into that for a second, if that's my future, where people are really receiving the songs and not just receiving it, they're receiving themselves because they really feel the songs, I really have done something. I really have done my job, I feel. And I know it'd only make me feel more and more spectacular to hear of how it is that doorway for other people into the biggest versions of their lives. I think that's what's in the music. Yeah.
Yeah, I find that too with what I do. Whether it's writing or interviewing someone, and that there's that one person that's going to hear it, that's just going to go, oh my God, that's me. I'm not alone. Someone understands me. And when you have that reaction from someone, there's nothing in the world like it. There's that feeling of connection, but there's that also, you made a difference in someone's life, and no money in the world can give you that feeling of doing that. And I see you doing that. I know you will do that. And it's a pretty amazing gift to have.
Yeah, you can really see me. You can really see me, and I really, hence why I reached out. I know that through the unbelievable challenges I keep facing and have faced, you always see me. You just see me, and you just see what I am and what I'm becoming, what's flowering of the big crack that opened in my life. And then the crack opens and suddenly everything's totally different. And that's been my life for the last.
That's what you're going to do for people too when they hear your music.
Yeah, that'll be crazy. Good luck to them. That's all I can say. Because it's craziness, but it's so good to be so close to yourself, in the end.
Let's say
that's what the record is. It's going to crack people, fill it with light.
Crack people open. 5 years' time, I know it's hard to sometimes think that far ahead, but tell me, with the faith that you have and the knowledge and the knowing that you have of your gifts and that there is a place for them in the world, what would you like to see for you as an artist?
These are such great questions. This is so good for me. I need to believe this much. Well, my problem is the opposite. I see the end vision too much. That my issue is being too much in the end vision versus the daily, what is happening right now. But hopefully in 5 years, the end vision that I have strived for is realized. Hopefully it's the end of that song, Silent Revelry. And at the end of that song, the father talks about giving I mean, it's this image of his daughter seeing the horizon. So she's gotten to grow up into a beautiful woman because of his safety. And he's bought a house for them and has land. I think on a very personal level, having been homeless for my whole adult life, essentially, having to move on. At the very least, I need to say that I will have provided a house for myself, my partner, and this one. And in that house will be all the great things that you love as an artist, having my own studio to write songs in, and I do want to be a producer as well of my own songs by then. At the moment I don't fully have the skill set, but I am excited to produce my own music and play all kinds of instruments. I think culturally, I think this is where the sky is actually the limit. And culture, being a media creator, it's actually, as you can attest to, it's actually totally impossible to conceive of what culturally will be the impact of you putting your work into the world. There could be nothing. You could give it, which has happened to me. You put it out, nothing happens. 4 people like it and send you a smiley face. Or there's the opposite where millions of people see it and resonate with it. They start seeing it in random places. And one of my music videos was in a Chinese airport. I got told, that's how a producer I worked with, she said, "Oh yeah, I was at the airport and I saw your music video, and that's how I know about you." Exactly. I think one of the gifts of being in media and music is there is no edge. People will find this in the weirdest ways. And I hope they do. And I hope they find the music and the music videos as well that'll go with it in all kinds of weird corners. But I'm sure the universe will be able to sneak up on them, as it has done so successfully in my life. When you least expect it, they'll hear one of the songs for the first time and it'll be what they needed to hear. And I think if that's happening at all corners of the world, in all corners, I hope in third world countries this is happening all over the place, then I've definitely blown my mind more than could possibly be blown. I think practically I have to be a touring musician, because performance is the end goal for me. And I'd love to act and do fashion stuff and keep churning out music, keep putting out new music. I think I'm really excited to improve as an instrumentalist and a guitarist. And I feel strongly, much like referencing you too, that the better I become as a guitarist, especially as a lead guitarist, I think my sense is, much like the Beatles and Across the Universe, melodies that are more and more beautiful on the guitar naturally will come. I'm just a bit clunky at the moment. But I feel that once I really get a handle of the instrument, I'm just going to be ripping up the guitar. So that's what I want as an artist. And that's what I want as a cultural, someone with a cultural imprinter. Yeah.
Oh, I like that. Cultural imprinter. That's a good one.
You're a cultural imprinter as well. So
Am I?
we're both cultural imprinters. Yeah.
I'll take that.
Leaving an imprint on the culture.
Yeah. I was actually, I was going to ask you that. And another question, you talk about Michael Jackson and, we talked about David Bowie in the book. What would you like your legacy to be?
Well, I mean, I always internally knew what it was, but I think externally I was afraid to say it because it sounds so conceited, especially being an Australian and tall poppy syndrome and all that. But I always felt like my role was to be like Elvis meets the Beatles. And in the way that Elvis is such, it's craziness to do what he's done, to be so iconic and to be one man, or one person, not even the man thing, just one energy, right? That has achieved that much, I suppose, masculine energy or knowing of himself internally, that all we feel is the impact of that. We can't possibly know what he's integrated. like if you go on the journey spiritually, you know how hard it is to do the work. And for him to done that, to done that as one person all those years ago, before there was this structure or the support, and he came from poverty. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. There's no two ways about it. He's come from the hardest places, one of the hardest places, to the top of the world. But not just the top of the world, kind of a energetic flow through all history. We all know Elvis. That's insane. And then the Beatles, for me, so if Elvis is the energy of, holding yourself that much that you can flow out that much, then for me, the Beatles, I reference them. Well, we all say that they're the best songwriters in history. There's no way to avoid it, when you're studying music, that you just agree that these songs, they feel unbelievable, and you just don't know how any human could do that. So in my world, I felt like what I was doing was, I was here to do what they did of grounding a new era. So what they really have done for people is they took people out of the war and they created a new loving world, with their loving songs, that got us to focus on the point, which is love, and I felt like my role was to do it again, and to do what we need at this current stage. Is we are starting to deal with concepts that seem too overwhelming, which is different timelines and portals and crazy spiritual things, and everyone's now dealing with this. But at the same time, we're dealing with our real practical daily lives of relationships and love. And really the most grounded thing I could do is to show how they're one and the same thing. And as I've navigated love and relationships, I've also had to navigate multiple timelines. It's craziness. And that's my gift. I feel like I kind of feel like I'm doing what the Beatles did, but for crazy timelines and portals and stuff like that, and the new spiritual era, that the new high vibration planet, really taking us out of emotional war, because that's something I got so clear on this year, that I realized I hadn't been told that we've all been in war. We've all been in an emotional war. And really, my role, first by becoming it myself, grounding peace, is to then put out the music and support people to do that in their daily lives as well. Yeah, ground a new era. That's the legacy.
Yeah.
I hope I do. I hope people can hear it at that level. It hasn't been the case so far, and often I consider how delusional I probably am.
No. I'm not going to let you get away with that, because isn't it all about the joy that what music brings? When you mention Elvis and you mention the Beatles, and then you see people, film clips from back then, or even now, when people hear a song and it brings up a memory and it brings up a feeling and an emotion, and it brings joy or it brings sadness, or all those things from that one song. As soon as you hear the bars of it, the opening bars, you already know what it is, and you get that feeling. I feel like that's what you want people to experience as well.
Yeah.
In a way that it's touching their heart, or bringing them peace, or bringing them reassurance or joy.
I know.
Yeah, that's what I see you doing.
Yeah, I hope that's what happens.
No, not the hope. No more hope.
You know who's really, I really hope I get to say this to them one day in my life. It's not too much of a bold dream, but Coldplay has really been that for me. And I'm grateful for as much as I love and I'm blown away, because the music of the 50s and 60s is unbelievably blowing away type music. I'm grateful to have been born in this era, because I feel like Coldplay were that for me, Yeah, they really have been. And I'll never stop. yeah, being blown away by their songwriting. So it's nuts.